everyone, welcome to the Game in Frame season preview of the Cosmopolitan League. I'm delighted today to be joined by the Brkanovic brothers, who are presiding over the team currently top of the entire CSL pyramid, Richmond County FC. Hal Brkanovic is the team coach, the maestro, pulling the strings, and Kem is the team manager and the captain out on the field. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
So the first question I have, I think to set into context the scale of the achievement, Richmond being top of the table, is let's go back to the start. How was Richmond formed? When was Richmond formed? And what was the journey up to Division 1?
So I guess I'll start with that. Richmond County was formed in 2016. We joined the Cosmo League that year after a few years of wondering, hey, should we make the jump? We played in local leagues in Staten Island under a different name. And then we rebranded and decided to try our best. You know, if you look now, we still have some holdovers from that original team, but it's been a growth since 2016. And we didn't have like large ambitions, I'd say, at the start. It was more somewhere to play around New York City and other stuff, like legendary teams too in the league. But, you know, little by little, we kept progressing, and there's always that, competitive nature where you want to keep improving. And, within, five seasons now, we're at the top of D1, and that's definitely a big accomplishment for us, at least through the fall season, I'll say.
And in terms of that 5-year journey, when did it? Because you say that you weren't even necessarily like when you started. The target was not we're going to be top of the pinnacle. Whatever. There wasn't a 5-year plan of excellence, but you've got there, right? And it's obviously very hard. This is a very difficult division. Was there a point in the last 5 years where it started to dawn on you guys that you might have a team with real potential?
Yeah, so I think that point was in 2018 when we were dominating the Metro 1 table. So the Metro 1, I think now it would be equivalent to D3. We were on top of the table, and we won the league by a lot of points. We actually didn't end up to go and win the championship because there was a playoff involved, but
what's the penalty?
But we won the league and we won promotion to D2. And I think that was the year we realized, like, okay, you know what, we're pretty good for our level, and if we keep improving the squad, maybe there's something there that we can end up going to Division 1 one day. And then the next year we started out in Division 2 very well, and that season was never finished because of COVID, but we were one of the top 3 teams, I believe, after like 9 or 10 matches played. So I think that Metro 1 season was the season where it kind of gave us some hope that we can play with the big boys one day.
And just to add, the difference between Metro 1, I think it's the same now with Division 3, that you only need one roster. You don't need to have a reserve team. So that was another whole. So when we first joined, we didn't have 35, 40 dedicated people. We were going in, when we were in D4, what would be D4 now, it was Metro 2. We were going in some games with 10, 11, 12. Like, it wasn't like we had a full roster, but little by little, like my brother just said, we just, as we improved, and then, word goes around, friends of, some people on your team, they have friends that hear about it, and you just keep building internally for the most part. So, and I'd like to also add, I don't know if I added it before, but our team is predominantly local Staten Island people. I think we have one person just like 5 minutes outside of Staten Island, New Jersey, and someone right off the bridge in Brooklyn. But for the most part, it's predominantly Staten Island based players.
Awesome. So you really are Staten Island's one of true representatives in the CSL.
Yeah, and we are the only men's team in Staten Island, besides like the colleges that play here. There really is no other men's team that participates in any recognized amateur leagues. So that's another cool thing, that a lot of the players here, when they get to a certain age and they still have ambition to play somewhere that's competitive, they'll reach out to us as well. So it helps us make that first and reserve team quota that the league needs for this division.
Nice. So that was some of the history. Let's rewind forwards now to this full season. 3 games left in the season. You've just lost 3-0 to Hoboken. You're 5 points behind them. Did you think there was any chance you'd be seeing top of the table going into winter break, or was it going to be a long game strategy you expected?
I'll take. We have differing opinions here, different mindsets. But for me, just based on last year's table and the year before, it looked like, I think last year was Celtic and Shamrock, who I think Shamrock maybe dropped 6 points all season, if I'm not mistaken, and Shamrock 7. So part of me, that would, after we lost to Hoboken, we had already dropped 5, and Hoboken, I mean, even now, Hoboken's not allowing goals. They've allowed 4 all season, but for the most part, I was like, now they have a tiebreaker too, essentially, unless we win in New Jersey 4-0 through, it's going to be a long road ahead. So I was skeptical. I still, I believed in the team, and I still think we could compete. It was just, I didn't think to the level of, Hoboken ended up, I think, drawing the final 3 games, which that it's football. I guess anything could happen, but just based on the prior year and other years in CSL where teams rarely drop points, I'm like, oh boy, is this one year where we can have a great season? Some similar to, I think, Celtic last year, where they missed winning the league by 1 point, even though they had an amazing season. So I was like, is this going to be one where we lost this game to Hoboken and regretted at the end? But I was glad that the boys, turned it around, that we learned a lot of stuff there, some naivety. We were a little naive in that game, I think, as well. And focusing on, control. I think that game we got a red card as well early on, like just trying to be more composed and take our chances when they come. So long story short, I think there was some little question marks, at least in my head, but I still, it wasn't for a lack of belief in the team. It was just maybe the point total, even if we have a great year, wouldn't be enough to win compete for top honors.
Yeah, for me, I thought we always had a chance. I'm not going to say I sat there and said, oh, we're going to get first place before the winter break, because that seemed, obviously at the time, that would have seemed very unrealistic, even if you were confident in your group. But I did think, okay, there's still, I think it was 13 games left at that point in the season. There's still 13 games to go. The gap is 5 points. Every team in this league is difficult to play against. Athletic Club or Jetto. There's still so many games that they can drop points in. And also, we lost to them. We're going to play them again. The scoreline was 3-0, but, we missed a couple of important players. We had a red card early on. So I think, it's anything could happen in the second game. Last season, we had a worse squad, and we finished, I think, 10 points behind them at the end of the season. I don't remember the exact table, but we actually beat them in Secaucus. So, I mean, we can beat them again. They can beat us again. The teams are pretty close in levels. So we have respect. We have great respect for them. They've been around for many years. They have more experience than us at this level. So we're hoping that our youthfulness and our attack can score enough goals and hold them off as we play in the spring.
Yeah, and I suppose it was a little unfair of me to mention first your only defeat in the league last season. As I saw personally, the rest of the season was mostly just a series of highs. If in that league campaign in full, is there one game where you guys really felt like that was a defining moment for you as a team that propelled you to that top spot?
I think the Shamrock game, even though at that time I don't think that put us in first, the Shamrock, because we had drew the week before against Zoom, but the Shamrock game, defending champions, playing in Randall's where we had lost it at 4-0 just in the spring season last year. Obviously, their team, they're not the exact same team as last year, quality wise, but just for us going into that game, we had just dropped points in Roosevelt Island, where we still haven't won a game in 3 attempts, I think, or 4. I don't know how many times we played there, but Zoom Schneider scoring a last-minute equalizer against us, and then that game against against Shamrock, we were we won 5-0 and we scored early, I think in the first 10, 15 minutes, and then another goal right at the beginning of the second half, I believe, and then just pouring it on at the end on a few counters, obviously, but still it was a 5-0 result where I really was like, oh wait, we can really compete. That's where we started to gain belief as a team, like just against a legendary club like Shamrock to win 5-0 away or wherever you win 5-0 is a great achievement. And yeah, that's where I think the mindset of the team changed. Like we could really compete this year.
For me, I'd agree with Hal. I think that was an important message for our own heads and to the rest of the league. Like, okay, they just beat the defending champs 5-0 away. They're probably going to be challenging for a title, because before that game, I don't think any club in the top half of the league thought that we could challenge for a title. But then after that game, they started to think so. But I also like to point out like 2 or 3 more games where we probably wouldn't win them last season, but we won them this year. Could be a little down to luck, but the luck was on our side. And last year, these games didn't fall our way. So I think the one against Polonia in McCarran Park, that was a memorable one. That game we got outplayed. We didn't deserve to win, but somehow we did. The Kelmendi game, where we did play really well, but they came back to make it 3-2. That was a game last year we could easily draw. And the fact that we held on for the win in that one, and also the kickers game at the end to take over first place before the winter break, that was also another game where we could have easily dropped points. So the fact that we held on to 3 points, these are games at the end of the season where you're like, okay, we got 3 points in these games and we weren't at our best. And that could make the difference in the end, because maybe Hoboken wasn't at their best in the last few games of the season and they didn't get wins. So that's how you make up a gap on those type of games.
Absolutely, yeah. You guys certainly you grinded out the results when you had to, and other times you just set the stage on fire with scintillating football. But you got the results on the off days as well. I guess you had some new players in the squad, didn't you, this season? What over the course of the fall do you feel like is the number one thing you guys learned about the team that you have at your disposal?
Well, I think with Arts, I just think it's the love of football and competitive nature of the team. I've always known that, but it's just as the season progresses, guys just want to play, and they want to compete. They want to play against the best teams, and I just really the Hoboken game. I know we started out with that was one of the early questions, but I think coming off of that game, just seeing Dominic, who got the red card, he was like destroyed. Like he apologized to the team, and he's come back his next game's coming back. He's back in form. He didn't let that hang over him, and just persevering through any type of bad situations. And then to the point just earlier about the 1-goal wins, I think the last 3 games after Hoboken were all 1-goal victories, which there, like my brother said, there is definitely a little bit of luck involved in 1-goal wins, but at the same time, you want to be on you make your own luck and at times, and you want to be on the good side of that. So I think us grinding out those wins also shows relying on, the defense to hold the goalie. Hermes was at an incredible year, making a big save at the death to keep the 3 points, or us scoring a late winner, stuff like that. So I think just in general, the team and the new additions, I think that's another question you had, like Albert Sadiq, who's been a great find for us in the midfield. And he's definitely fit in with the squad and with the midfield and helping us play the way we like to play.
And talk about another individual performer, Adi Gaye. He I think he didn't score his first goal for you guys until that Shamrock game. So there was it. I'm just counting. 7 games left of the season. He then goes on to score 10 in those remaining 7. What do you think it was that just powered this incredible run of form he had?
Yeah, Adi's a fantastic player. He can score goals from the wing, and that's something you usually don't get at this level. Usually the wingers are more like disciplined players. They go up and down, cross the ball. But he can score. He tracks back. He's a very important player for us. He's somebody we can give the ball to and like maybe he'll create something with the dribble and cutting inside, and he can do it all. Honestly, I know sometimes he might not be a consistent performer to play well every single match, but he's such a dangerous player. And when he does play well, he can score like 2 or 3 goals versus very good opposition, like we saw this season.
Yeah, and to further to my brother's point, Adi's been phenomenal, especially you said from the Shamrock game forward. 10 goals. It's not an easy feat throughout a whole season, never mind in a 6 or 7 game span. But he's been very his strengths in terms of going one-on-one, dribbling, shooting, all that. He's strong left foot. But he's also, I don't know, Josh, you've seen a lot of our games. For me, he's one of the favorite players to coach. Like if I had 11 Adis, I'd be in heaven. Like just in terms of whatever you ask for him, we could go down to 10 men. Hey, Adi, can you drop back to left back? Hey, Adi, can you play left mid or strike, sometimes false 9, whatever it may be, the situation, he'll always, he doesn't complain. You have other players, people want to play in their preferred position. It's an amateur league as well. They're not getting paid to play. So it's more or less like, hey, if I'm coming, I want to play this position or stuff like that. And I'm not saying we have a lot of those type of players, but rarely do you see someone just play and wherever he is on the field, he's going to give his best. And he's, at left back, I love him there as well, but he brings so much in a variety of places, and it's just great having a player like that on the team. And he's a relatively new addition as well. I think this is only his second season with us.
Yeah, this is the second season.
So we're talking about Gaye, right? All those 10 goals in his last 7 games. Someone who maybe even outdid Gaye was your one and only Bledi Bardic, who on my stats had 7 goals and 9 assists in just 6 games. What is the Bledi Bardic effect for Richmond?
Well, you said it yourself, 7 goals, 9 assists in 6 games. I think that tells you the effect, but he's been incredible when he's out there. He has Bledi, easily you'd say, oh, he played higher levels. He's played for New York Cosmos. He's done a lot higher levels than amateur or high amateur, we want to call D1 CSL. But he comes in, he takes it as serious as anyone on the team. Like he wants to win every game. He wants to do his best. He's out there. If it's 3-0, he'll still yell at someone on the field, which will try to calm him down at times. But if there's a mistake, he'll yell at someone, or if he misses a chance, he'll be mad at himself. So he takes it just as, his passion and love of the game. He doesn't have that amateur click on his brain. Everything he takes at a very pro level. And we're glad to have him. I mean, we played 11 league games and 2 cup games. So 13, we got him for almost half, which we'll gladly take. Obviously, if we get him for the 11 of the 11 games in the second half of the D1 season, the spring season, I think we would be very, it would help us significantly in our title chances. And I think that's one person in the game against EPSL when we played Zoom. That's one person who we would have loved to have just to give us one more outlet when we're attacking, and someone who's played at a higher level than our competition would have helped.
Yeah, and then in terms of I think it's fair to say that when you have your full squad, you have a pretty complete team, right? There's not really a weak point. You've got a very good shot stopper and goal. Your defense is very hard to break down. Your midfield, very creative with Zima and Sadiku. And your attacking lineup is just 3 forwards that would give anyone a nightmare to play against for various reasons. I know that one thing that you guys mentioned was sometimes the need to have more depth, right? You've been relatively injury-free. So I have to ask the annoying question, what is Richmond County's transfer activity going to be in this winter break before spring? Or
without giving names away, because we don't want to ruin it, but we have some names that are on the list where we're thinking of bringing them on, but
there's one specifically may hear in the next week or so we're going to break. That's a pretty
big announcement.
Big announcement. Social media will explode. But yeah, we have one player in particular we're hoping that will be a big addition, a product from Europe. So I'll give you a little hint there.
Yeah,
a European transfer. Oh.
But not from the Balkan or Eastern European region. I'll give that's another hint.
Oh, now that is something new as well for Richmond.
So
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, we have a couple. We have in my head, I have about three players that could probably join the first team in the spring, and we're gonna need them because Dardan is will no longer be playing with us in the spring. Dardan is trying to play in Europe for some some clubs, and he's trying to try out for some clubs in Europe, and we wish him the best. So he will no longer be playing in the spring. So we need to have depth, because you see with our squad, if somebody gets injured or if there's a player who can't make a certain game, like the Hoboken game where we missed Mark and Bleddy, we were kind of thin with the replacements. And no disrespect to our reserve team, because our reserve teams can help us as well, but it's tough to also ask them to play 2 games or to come 4 hours earlier, and And
that's the thing with the reserve too. I mean, on the roster, if you look, we have, I don't know how many people, including myself, I think we have 20 plus people on the reserve roster, but the reserve, we want to compete in the reserve division as well. So it's not like the kickers game, for example, we only had 12 people on the reserve team, and we actually pulled the center back to play on the first team because the first team only had 10 and he made 11. So that game was also, that's like a perfect example of a game where we could have probably pulled another reserve player or 2, but then, to make the reserves play with only 11 or 10, we don't want to do that. So it's kind of a tricky spot. And that's the situation with making them play 2 games or stuff like that. It's not easy. So yeah, we'll keep our eyes open, but there's 1, maybe 2 players I think would be new, and we try to gradually. I think I said the first question you asked about how we've grown since 2016. We like to try to keep the core together, and then each year add 1 to 2, no more than 3 players. We just so we did the chemistry and stuff like that, not build a whole new team and then risk it breaking up easy, growing too fast.
Absolutely. And now you've left me very, very excited for this transfer announcement. You guys know how to build hype. So going into spring season, as a neutral, the title race is like perfectly set up. Hoboken is 1 point behind you. Borgetto is 4 behind you. Even Shamrocks have started to close the gap. They had a good run in the second half. Then 9 points. Not totally out of it. What do you guys think you need to do to keep that top spot by the end of spring season when it counts?
I think keep grinding, and I think is that the saying in England, the 6 pointers? Those 6 games, the 6 point games. That's usually, I think, and they use it for relegation battles too. But we're in the title race. I think the head-to-heads are Hoboken, Borgetto, Shamrock, New York Athletic Club, and Zoom specifically. Those are going to be those 5 teams. I think are the top half of the table. Those are the ones where you can't lose them. More so, you want to win more of those games than you lose, obviously. And if the ones that you don't win, you want to at least draw to keep, not allow those teams to gain ground. But I do think even the division, for me at least, it's very strong from top to bottom. Even the bottom half of the table, 2 of the 3 wins to end the year, we were playing the teams from, I think, Kelmendy's 10th and Kickers are 9th. And both games we won by a goal, at the very end, both could have been different outcomes, with little luck here, unluckiness for us, I guess. But I think just keeping the focus, keep grinding. Hopefully, to your point regarding health, and we keep staying healthy and get full squads for most games, which isn't always easy, either because of COVID or because just in general with an amateur league, it's not the easiest thing to do. But our goal is just let's keep trying to score more goals than the other team and keep getting those 3 points.
So one on your fixture list that I'm particularly looking forward to is obviously against Borgetto after the last game, which was probably one of the best games of football I've seen in my life. I don't know what happened to either team's defense, because normally they're pretty strong, but there was no defending, but just unbelievable level of attacking. Are you guys going to play a 2-2-6 formation again against Borgetto? Can you guarantee us as a neutral at least 6 or 7 goals?
Well, I think Hal. So it's funny in those type of games where you play against other great attacking sides. The coach, he doesn't. If we have a full squad, he doesn't mind the game to be he doesn't mind the game being incredibly open like that. He thinks it suits us because of our attack with Bledi, Mark, and Adi. So if a team wants to play that open, I mean, I don't like it because it's gonna affect me in the back, and there's gonna be a lot of space both ways. But he thinks it's better for the team, and I think in that game, even though it was 4-3, if you were to look at the chances and the amount, the quality of the chances throughout the 90s, I think you have a highlight video of that match up, and it was a pretty long one.
It's about 15 minutes, yeah. It took a long time to make.
Because there were so many goals and chances. But I think we created the better chances and the higher amount of chances in the game. So even though it was 4-3, I think it was one of those where the style and the openness suited us more than Borgetto because of our players. So I think if that game has a similar pattern in the spring, great. I think it will be better for us.
Yeah, certain teams, like I love those open games. Bledi, Mark, Adi, you've seen firsthand the speed that they bring on counters and quick movements where I preferably, I don't mind it. I think I was speaking to the Borgetto coach during the game. You can probably catch in the video where I'm like, oh, this is fun. And then the second half, I noticed his team changed tactics. They played a little more defensive, which led to the game. I think there was only one goal scored in the second half.
Yeah, so they scored the only one, putting it back.
They scored, yeah. So I think those type of games I don't mind. We still have to adjust, like teams like Hoboken and even I guess Shamrock. We scored 5, but like just what you said a few minutes ago, they've improved. They started winning. I think they were on a run. I don't know if they won 4 or 5 in a row, something like that. But in general, teams that are more solid and sit back. And I give Borgetto a lot of credit because Borgetto played very open football. It's exciting. I as a neutral, I would love watching that. Even as an opposing coach, I was just impressed with some of the movements they were doing and the way they were possessing the ball, creating chances and stuff. It was exhilarating to watch. But I think that suits our offensive players more, just the speed. And that's something we want to work on this year where we can, breaking down teams that sit back or play, more, not to say Borgetto's not compact or as disciplined, but I think they're, they're not as rigid as say Hoboken or Shamrock, New York Athletic Club, or those type of teams that are, Zoom too is another one. Zoom it for us. They are very organized and stay compact in the back. They want to make sure their defense is secure before they attack. So that's one thing we really want to focus on creating more chances from open play, not just on counters, but, just breaking down teams when they do sit back.
And Kem, you're right. You're back right in time for a question I have for you. So, I think it's fair to say that probably you guys and Borgetto have the best 2 attacks in the league. That you've got very talented players that are hard to predict. What was it like for you to go up against those Borgetto players like Jean-Sebastian, Santino? Because there's some former U20 internationals and stuff. They're very tricky players.
Yeah, no, they were very good. So I think that. I know it's going to sound stupid when I say this because Hoboken beat us 3-0, but for me, Borgetto was the most talented team and probably the best team we played because they put us under severe pressure. I think in the first 20 minutes, they had like 3 big chances to score. And I remember there was one specific play in the first half. They sent a long ball from back to front, and it wasn't the usual way. They usually play short passes to build up, but they just sent the long ball to, I think, their right winger, Santi, I think.
Santa, yeah.
Yeah, and just straight over my head, and I was like, oh my God. I thought I had the advantage to the ball, and he just, sprinted by me, and I'm like, wow, these guys are fast, they're quick. So they were not, and I know against other teams that a similar long ball like this wouldn't give me as much difficulty, but against them they have such fast and pacey players and also skillful that they can.
They're very technical.
Yeah, they can give you trouble in tight spaces, and so that was definitely an attack that was not easy to defend against, and as you can see, they scored 3 goals against us. They
could have scored a few more. That game could have easily.
They could have scored a few more, and the quality.
The first half could have been 5-6. To be honest with you, the first half was ridiculous.
Both teams could have scored 5 easily.
The quality of the first, which was the first goal, the long range shot, I believe.
Yeah, by Jean-Sebastian. Yeah.
Yeah, the quality of their goals were nice too because the first 2 goals one was a shot from far, and the other one was I think they did like a 1-2 in a tight space around me, Dominic, and Alban. So it shows you that they can play in different ways as well. So I think that was a tough game for us, and I'm glad we got the win. And I think in the spring when we play them again at Randall's or wherever their home field is, I think it's going to be that's probably going to be one of the harder games in our season.
Yeah, really looking forward to that one. You also
is that going to be the game of the week, Josh? Game in front.
It's gonna have to be a pretty good other game for it not to be game of the week. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good chance. And let's just say if it's a 0-0, I'm gonna be so disappointed at both teams. I'm gonna be so disappointed.
I think you can bet it won't be.
yeah. I think probably. So you also, you had a bit of a cup run, and you ended up playing against the EPSL opposition, Zoom. If you guys win Division 1 this season, which I'm sure you're focused on the job for spring. But if let's say it does happen, you're going to have the option to go up to EPSL. From playing against Zoom, how big would you say the gap is right now, and what would you guys need to do to close it?
I think it's a pretty decent gap, and to be honest, the thing I noticed on that level, it's the fitness. Although I think our team is pretty fit, it's like they train more, and they actually have a player on their team that used to play on our team a couple of years ago. So just knowing how much training goes into it, it's that would be a thing where we would obviously, it's a goal to go to that division, but at the same time, it would need significantly more, I guess, resources and training and stuff like that. So I think that's the major difference between the amateur level and then the EPSL, which is more, I'd say, more semi-pro, if I'm using the right term.
Yeah.
So yeah, that cup game, for instance, just being under, it's not like Borgetto, for instance. Borgetto's offense, I'd say, is probably more dangerous than what we saw. But that, they bring it all. Those EPSL teams, it's the organization, the fitness, the technical, tactical, every aspect they're solid on, and you don't find a lot of weak spots to attack or take advantage of, and they know how to pressure you. So that's definitely a gap. But I think obviously it's a goal, but we're going to take it one game at a time, and if that were to happen, we'll deal with it then. But right now, we still, like Hoboken, Borgetto, and the other teams, respective to the Division 1 clubs here in the CSL, we're just going to focus on those games and take them one at a time.
Yeah, we want. So I mean, I told you at the interview after the Kickers game, we want EPSL. That's the goal. But obviously, we understand that with our current squad, if we were to get promoted, we probably are not a top. What was it? 10 teams in the EPSL?
Yeah,
we're probably not a top 6 team in the EPSL. We're probably from the 7th to 10th range. So while it's a goal, like Hal said, we're focusing on this spring because we have to win that first for that to even become reality. So I think if we were to go to EPSL, we would need to improve on several things that we do. And it's not just one or two, it's many things. And that Zoomsteiner game showed us that as well, because it wasn't only the scoreline. I think we just seeing the way they all defend together as a group. They all run back. Even their striker was defending at the half line. It shows that there's a lot of other things that go into winning, and not just having talented players. Like Hal mentioned, the Borgetto guys probably had just as much talent going forward, but these guys were all defending, all attacking together, fullbacks going forward, coming back.
Yeah, they were like a combination. I guess my best thing would be like they were a combination of Hoboken and Borgetto. Like the Hoboken coming back and just everyone tracking back in the organization. Then in attack, they overload you and they attack like Borgetto. So they combine both the best worlds in the EPSL, in the CSL, I should say.
And I guess finally, my last question would be, how is just the experience of being part of the CSL Division 1? Like, if you could describe it in a couple of words, what is that experience like?
For me, it's great. I mean, I see these other leagues that have been launched in the last couple of years, like NISA and these other leagues that like claim to be pro, but mean, I think our league here is amazing. We have tiers, we have promotion, relegation. There's something always to play for, whether you're Style Mulettes or whether you're Richmond County and Hoboken. There's always the games are important because it's deciding where you're going to play next season. And from what I've seen, I used to, like, when I first joined the league, I used to think, like, most of these teams don't care. They just want somewhere to play on Sunday. But now, as I've been in the league longer, I've seen that competitive nature does push people to play hard and care every week about the results and where they might play next season. So I think it's very good. And I think for us, that's why we would go to the EPSL if we were to get promoted. It's because, some of the guys, me, Dominic, Peter, some of the guys who are, like, not so young, getting to the point where, like, maybe we're going to get, like, some of us might get married soon. Some of us might have kids soon. You kind of have to try to play as high as possible, as soon as possible. So I think that's also in our heads too. Like, this season would be a great opportunity to get promoted because of the timing of the core guys that have been here for a while. It's we would have to take the step and the jump because we might never get to do it again.
Same question to me, Josh. Or?
Yeah, I'll give this. Yeah, if you've got something else to say, or Ken put it pretty well. Just do it whilst you're still young.
You do it while you're still young. Yeah, I think you asked, like, a few words just on this Division 1. I think, to Ken's point, the competitive nature of it is just the thing. I think everyone goes there to compete, and it's like just knowing this is a pretty, even though it's amateur, it's still a high level for a lot of people, and they take it. They want to win and they give their best, and just Sunday morning 8 a.m. in McCarran Park or 8 p.m. in Owls Hollow, like just the time, just what goes into, like, Division 1 amateur, like all those things. It makes it fun and different. And all the different types of teams. You have teams like Sanjak who they're very they get lots of fans at their games and they're very into it. The spirit, they show that passion, and Kelmendi and those type of teams. But then you also have, like, those legendary clubs. Hoboken, New York Athletic. It's like a mixture of, and then new clubs as well, Borgetto. So it's and us. I think it shows a mixture of the different types of teams in D1 and different types of cultures and types of style, and it's all we love it.
One last bonus question. In your guts, so not thinking about planning, tactics, preparation. In your gut, who's going to be top of CSL 1 at the end of spring?
Oh, we have to say us, no?
Yeah, we'll let the games do the talking. I'm not putting no bulletin board material from us.
No pressure.
Hey, I'm just trying to soundbite you, so then when you slip up, I'm going to play it back all over.
No, we'll keep doing our best. And that's it. We just have to go into every game. Every game is basically a cup final for us at this point, especially against the top half. We have to keep grinding out results and doing our best. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. So little by little, each game is one more step towards the end line. And right now it's very tight. We're 1 point ahead of Hoboken, 4 ahead of Borgetto. And, you have Shamrock and New York Athletic Club, which they're, within 9 points, each of them. So it's, they're not out of the woods. So I think this second half of the season, I really think it's going to be a great showcase of the D1, the Division 1 and CSL. And you have a lot of top teams that are going to compete. And I think each week you're going to have a big matchup just with the amount of quality teams you have in it.
Yeah. And Josh, it's funny that we talk about the big teams because honestly, like, our toughest games have come against the teams at the bottom as well, because Kickers and Polonia is not really at the bottom, but Kickers and Polonia, who are mid-table, and even Sanjak.
Yeah,
I know you weren't there for the Sanjak one, but it was our first game of the season. Sanjak was a difficult win for us. It was 1-0. It was the first game of the year.
Yeah, we didn't expect. I mean, to be honest, credit to Sanjak. Like, I didn't, them coming up with the division, I didn't realize the amount of, the spirit they have and the way they play the organization. That was that was a tough one. We grinded out a 1-0 win there. But yeah, every game is just going to be tough, and that's why. In your gut, you believe in your own team. Obviously, I believe in my players, but at the same time, it is anything could happen in 11 games, and we just got to keep the focus and keep on chugging along and after 22 games, we want our name at the top.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Well, guys, I for one cannot wait to be there streaming it and seeing all the twists and turns. I'm sure we're going to have lots of them in this remaining season. Thanks so much, both you, Hal and Kem, for doing this interview. Thank you for bringing us in so much last season. It was incredible to see the journey.
And we'd like to thank you, Josh, for having us today and for all that you've improved. I think that's also helped with the league and our team specifically. Like our guys love watching the games, and it allows people that have families somewhere else or in Europe. I'm sure you've seen hits on your thing, like viewers coming from somewhere in the Balkan region. So, so I think it's been great having you, and we enjoy every week, and we'll continue using you going forward.
Yeah, Josh, we appreciate what you do for the league and what you do for our team specifically. It's very helpful that you're able to come out and dedicate yourself on the weekends to do this.
I've gone to know Staten Island a lot better than I did before. I have to say that the last 6 months.
Yeah. I hope you like it.
Are you apartment shopping? Or?
Maybe, but yeah, no. Thank you guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we're just getting started. Hopefully, we can get at some point really make it like Sky Sports or NBC and just have a whole lineup of 10, 15 games every week, because I feel like there's certainly so much quality and entertainment across the league.
Got to aim high.
aim high. Yeah. Exactly. All right, guys. Well, it was great talking, and I'm looking forward to seeing you out there in spring season.
Have a good one, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.